is you have to have this distributive property with this negative 9m. So I'm going to change it to plus a negative 9, and we are going to be taking the negative 9 times the 5 and times this negative 3m. So we start with negative 8m. When I take negative 9 times 5, negative 9 times 5 is going to give us a negative 45. When I take negative 9 times negative 3, I should end up with what? Courtney, as I'm multiplying that, negative 9 times negative 3. $27 is going to be a positive 27, and I'm going to have an m, so 27m, and that equals 12. So I am now looking at my like terms, and I have 27m and negative 8m. So if I'm adding those two together, I'm going to end up with 19m. So I have 19m, and if you can either write it, so watch those desks. I can either have it as plus a negative 45, or I could leave it as a minus 45. Next step, Daniel, is to do what?
Subtract 45.
So if I 45. Yeah, because if I subtract 45 and 45, that'd give me a negative 90 and wouldn't get rid of anything. So I actually want to add 45, and I think the most common mistake, sometimes as people go from here to here, is they change this negative to a positive 45. So then they think they should subtract, and in this case we should have 57 equal to 19m. And as we do that division, it actually comes out as a pretty nice number, because 57 divided by 19 is 3. And if you go back and plug that in, it does work. So make sure you have that work. As I'm looking, Grace.
I did it wrong, but it got, it did a different way, but I got the same answer.
How did you do it?
Okay, so I took
These 6 friends, and you spent $15.95, was it?
85.
$15.85, and then you added on $14. That's the answer. You just put that in your calculator and get the answer. You did it right. This one did not fit with all of these problems. I don't know why they put it in there. It's there. I should have crossed it off ahead of time. Sorry. Bad problem. So, number 19. How do we get rid of dividing by 16? What do I need to do on both sides? Multiply by?
Negative
16. Good catch on seeing me right there. So we are multiplying negative 19 times 16. So I have 16 times negative 19, and I'm just going to write it down here again. We had 28 minus k over 16, and we multiplied both sides by the 16. Here they cancel. We are left with 28 minus k equals, when you took 16 times negative 19, what did we end up with? 16 times a negative 19. Someone have that one on their paper? 16 times negative 19. It's a pretty big number. 304. Negative 304. And I'm almost done with the problem. What do I need to do next, Brett? Subtract 28. And when I subtract 28 from negative 304, it's actually like the temperature outside today, and it keeps getting colder. This is actually going to be a negative 332, because they're both negative. And that's equal to what, Ava? What's on this side? What's left? Oh, really close. Negative k. Because that, and then I'm going to put a negative 1 in there. So if I have negative k, Chloe, what do I need to divide by on both sides to get 1k? If I divide by positive 1, I'm still going to have a negative k. I want to divide by
Negative 1.
Negative 1. And so my answer is 332, but because negative divided by negative is positive, 332 should have been the answer. And it's really easy to stop at this point and think the answer is negative 332, and then just look in the back and go, oh, what? Oh, it's not that? Okay, I'll just change it to a positive. So making sure those are the kind of small mistakes that people make as we are looking at these. All right, so then we are again going to work with the algebra tile. So go to your notes. you can keep your workbook open. We're gonna hand you in a little later. Workbook open. We are looking at the positive, and this is our x, and this is the negative x. This is the -1 and +1, okay? So you're gonna be flipping those back and forth as you work with your shoulder partner. I would like you right now to model this equation. On your desk, we have 4 x's. So please write right below in your notes, 4x plus 6 is equal to, and on this side, if we are counting our ones, we have 10 plus 2 x's. What you are going to do as you solve your equations is very similar to this. We are always going to try and get all the variables on one side first. So when you look at your equations, our first goal, now that we've had variables up to this point, we've only had our variables on one side. Now we're going to have variables on both sides for the next few weeks. Okay? So when we look at this, the step 2 is that we're going to take these 2 x's away. So if they are removing these 2 x's from that first side, so if we remove 2 from this side, we are actually also removing 2 from this side. So when we remove 2, we are left with the new equation of 2x plus 6 equals 10. And when we start solving our equations today, we are always going to move the smallest x away. We are always going to add or subtract that smallest one. So at this point, what would you do next when we were doing these the other day? How many ones do we have to remove from both sides? We need to remove 6. So we remove these 6, we take them away, and we take 6 over on this side, and we remove those, take them away, and we are now left with 2x's equaling 4, and you can easily see that 1x has to be equal to 2, right? Each of these x's must equal 2. So on the top of the next page of your notes, I want you to model this equation right now. You are going to do the 9 ones, okay? So we're going to have the positive. So as you are looking at yours, please make sure as you do yours, I don't want you to write anything down below. I want you to move and make your 9 ones plus your 2 x's. So move your tiles. One of you should both be doing this. So you're going to have your 2 x's on this side. On this side, we know we have to have 3 x's. You have to have a 1. On this side, please put the 9 ones. I want to see everyone having this model, so if I walk around, I can see this with you in your shoulder partner. Okay. Model so it looks just like this. And you can do it on one of yours between the 2 of you so that you can kind of just see it. But I want both of you doing that as you are looking at that. Okay? So, they should be positive ones. I should have 2 x's. If you want to think of where that equal sign is, and then please make sure you have those right across from each other, kind of. So you guys are doing yours, push your desk either closer together, or put that so that you can see like there would be your equal. Yep, then you can do it on one desk can be on one side and one desk can be on the other, and your equal can kind of be in between the 2. First thing we want to look at is we need to remove the x's. What's the least amount of x's that we can actually remove? We can only remove how many? 2. If I remove 2, what are we left with on this side? 9 plus what? 9 equals?
9 equals 1 plus 3x.
1 plus 3x. Let's do that. Remove your tiles. It's not going to be 3 x's though, right? If you just remove 2 here, you have to remove 2 on this side also, right?
9 equals 1 plus 1, 9 equals 1 plus 1x.
9 equals 1 plus 1x. Please write that right below. Is this an easy problem to solve now? We have to remove 1 from both sides, right? If I remove 1 from both sides, I have x equaling 8. So my solution that I'm looking for down here was x equals 8. Please model this next one. Put 3 x's and put your -2. So 3 x's with a -2. We're going to do the negative f's on this side with the 6 ones. model that so I can see yours. So when we do our negatives, those should be our red ones that we were looking at, right? So I needed to have, in this case, -2. So I have -2, I have 3 x's, I have 6 1's, and a -x. If I'm thinking which x is smaller, -x or 3x, which one is smaller? -x. How can I get rid of a -x? I need to make a 0. So please put these two together. I just added one x tile here. I need to add an x tile over here, right? Because at this point, this gives me 0, right? So I now have 4 x's equals 6. So we would now have, write it right below here, 4x minus 2 equals 6. Now a lot of you, how do I get with these two negatives to get a positive to get 0? I need to move, add 2 what to both sides? 2 1's, right? I'm going to add 2 on this side. Please do the same thing on the other side of your equal sign. Add 2 1. So we now have 4 x's equaling, if we are looking at that, 8. Okay? If 4x equals 8, what does our x have to be equal to? 2. X has to equal 2. Across from each x, there are 2 of them. Please try this last one right now, and then we'll put and 3 x's from the other side on that last equation. I am now looking at 2x. If I look at my equation, right? 2x plus 2 equals 8. My next step would be to remove what from both sides? 2 1's from both sides, right? So I'm going to remove the 2 1's from both sides. And if I remove 2 1's, and I do it on both sides, I'm now looking at each x equaling how much? Each x, and if it helps you to line it up, each x equals 3 by lining it up, right? So x was equal to 3. Now, in your homework today, a lot of them still are going to come out as nice integers with a positive or a negative. We aren't going to get a lot of fractions and decimals, okay? So here they are showing how we work with our negatives like we just did. And so sometimes you have more negatives. 2x, so right below this on the top of the next page, if you would please write in 2x minus 1 equals -4 plus 3x. Write that right below that picture. This is on the bottom page of your notes set. The next one, notice what they did was they removed the 2 x's. They take those away. They take 2 away on this side. So we are left with 1x. And we still have -4 plus 1x, and over here we still have -1. And I always have students go, but isn't -1 less than -4? No, -4 is colder than a negative temperature of -1. And so what we do is we add 4 positive 1's to both sides. So to get rid of the negative, we are adding 4 positives. When we add 4 positives to 1, we are left with 3. And so we are simply going to have x equals 3 when we look at that. And instead of doing this last one with the algebra tiles, if you would like to, and it kind of helps cement it for you, what I would like you to take a look at is your homework. So put the algebra tiles back in the box sheet. On this first side, you need to do these on a separate sheet of paper. You're going to do from letter O to letter T on this side. And then on the other side, you will do letter M through the bottom letter S. And here's what I am okay with, so I want you to do this side. And the reason being is that they kind of get a little more complicated towards the end, right? So the first ones kind of start out a little easier. So what am I going to see on your paper? You are going to see on the top of your notebook paper, please write D5 and then put your name. you're gonna put letter O, and when you solve letter O, right in front of that, you'll tell me the number that it came out to be, okay? So that when we correct it, if you do the whole thing, the extra questions are bonus, and some of you could use all the bonus you could get at this point, but others of you, if you can just get what's required done, I would be very happy. So we're gonna start writing our problem. 8u equals 3u plus 35. You're gonna put that on your paper as you are working. Next step is we need to think of our algebra tiles and think, okay, I have these 8 rectangles. On this side, I have 3 plus 35 ones. Do you see why we don't want to do algebra tiles anymore? Who wants to put 35 ones, right? So when we are looking at this, we want to look at, I need to get rid of what on both sides? What would we do first? The rectangles, right? So if I'm getting rid of those rectangles, I need to get rid of the 3 u's on both sides. So please show that by subtracting. 3u right below the 8u, right? And I'm passing scissors around because I want the D4 cut out and turned in. So I'm going to subtract 3u, and I'm doing it on both sides of the equal sign, right? Whatever I do on one side, I have to keep my scale balanced. So I now have 5u is equal to 35. And the only thing that's different from what we were doing before is that now you have variables on both sides. And at this point, if I'm solving, Grace, what would you do? Divide both sides by 5. And I'm done with the problem. And u in this case equals 7. So out in front of the O, I put in 7. Which, if I was doing the questions up here, I would put in every place where there's a 7, I would put in O. So if you do the bonus, and you get the joke, and you do all of the questions, we're going to just be turning in the piece of paper, right? Because on the back of this worksheet is the D6. So there is just this one. So you have 8 questions on here that are due for Monday, okay? Before you work on the D5, D4 should be cut out and turned in. And if you did not finish